Brought to you by Knights of Awakening. This is the Labyrinth. This one is actually from a viewer slash listener request. They wanted to have me talk about or to explore a new trend in mysticism, a new and wild, crazy idea, something that is phenomenally amazing. Yes, it's phenomenally amazing anyone would be this stupid. There are people out there, I'm not providing links, who want to help you remove your chakras and get rid of your kundalini. This is the most preposterous idea I have ever heard in my entire life. But I understand why people are buying into it. You see, the chakra system, if removed, will likely cause you to die unless you were to circumvent it in some way. This is normally an offensive technique in mysticism. When we don't like someone that much, we rip out their chakras and tie the remaining energy centers together sufficiently that they don't die. It's a good way of stripping someone of their power, unless they're very well educated on how to circumvent that. But as a treatment of benefit, at best, it is dubious. This would be like if you were having prostate issues, and I was, as a doctor, which I'm not, none of this is medical advice. Well, if I were a doctor, I were to say, oh, you're having prostate issues. Don't worry, I'm going to kick you squarely in the jabronis, sufficiently hard that it will jog your prostate back into health. And you looked at me and said, oh yeah, that sounds like a good idea. That's not a good idea. While I am not a medical doctor, and this is not medical advice, I feel somewhat safe in suggesting that you do not have your prostate fixed by having your nether regions kicked with the force of a raging buffalo. Instead, I would recommend slow and steady treatments, which is really the problem that's causing people to go for this kind of service. What happens is people have a kundalini awakening that they're not ready for. They haven't built up to it. They haven't done the training and the practice. They've rushed in head first. Maybe they had someone rip their third eye open, or maybe they blew it open themselves, or maybe they did some kind of ritual to blow their kundalini wide open. Whatever the case is, they didn't get it through hard work, effort, and dedication. They didn't rely on a slow and steady method using tools as an augmentation, but instead, they did something to cause it to explode. Moreover, a lot of times these things happen because of trauma in their current or past life, or just events that are outside of their control. Sometimes you're just at the right time in the wrong place, and your kundalini awakens in a way that is not immediately positive. Now, normally, the kundalini, which is a rising energy structure which connects to the infinite at the base of your chakras, actually below the base, some people say, and there's debate on this. Normally, this power rises up through you, providing an unlimited supply of energy that is phenomenal. When it's working properly, this means improved psychic awareness, the ability to reach out with greater levels of energy, better health, and better functioning. However, that requires the rest of the system be ready for this. A lot of times what happens is people do the equivalent of only doing deadlifts with weightlifting, and then they go to do an arm curl, and they find out they can't. They strip a muscle of its ability to function, they come out of the gym injured, and then they want to blame the deadlifts for it, when the reality was they had not taken a holistic approach to their lifting. This is very similar to what happens when the kundalini awakens in a negative way. And I can see why people might want to go to someone and have them rip out the system. But I'm telling you, that is not safe or sound in any sense of the word. I'm not a big fan of blowing up your chakras either. I think there are a lot of great attunement methods out there. I think there are a lot of great energy work methods out there. There are a lot of skilled practitioners in various arts of healing who can help you amplify your abilities, who can help you, better yet, learn how to amplify your abilities. And I think that that is a wonderful thing. If you are working with talismans or crystals or even something someone enchanted for you to help you slowly boost your chakras or align them for your kundalini, I would be there going, yeah, that's not a bad idea. But ripping out your kundalini or blowing up your third eye explosively, in my mind at least, is the equivalent, again, of treating a prostate problem with dynamite. Yes, it will remove the prostate problem. It will also remove everything around the prostate problem, including you. These kinds of ideas, these methods, they come up when people are not educated upon the simple, yet truly requiring nature of energy work. Most energy work requires dedication, commitment, hard work, and determination, more than it does anything else. And anything else amplifies that. It helps with it. Any number of times, I have worked with people and provided them a talisman or something like that that they can work with while they're enhancing their existing gifts. And it works out fine because it's a slow, steady energy that they're drawing on until they can connect to a greater source and do greater things. Even with my own students, I've done very similar things, and it always works out okay. What I don't do is bring down the wrath of the heavens through their chakras, attempt to strip them of those chakras and go, don't you feel better? Yeah, you will get an adrenaline rush from a kick in the jabronis. But it doesn't mean that kicks in the jabronis are automatically a good pain relief method in the long term. Because I assure you, a minute or two after that, you will not be singing rave reviews. In energy work, it generally takes a little longer than a minute or two. These methods, ripping out chakras and blowing up your third eye and gods only know what else, stem from an uneducated population that believes that a quick fix McDonald's approach to mysticism is going to work for them. It is good to go to a professional for things you don't know how to do, or are not sure you can do, or have failed to do. But you don't go to a professional to lift weights for you. You might go to a professional trainer for advice on weightlifting, and you might get from them a weightlifting belt to help you lift better. But you certainly don't expect them to rip your muscles off of your body, rearrange them, put them back on, and make you stronger in that way. I see attunements and things like that as passing on a methodology, much like a talisman without the talisman. And I believe attunement methods work so well because you are not replacing or destroying anything that's there. You're giving them something else they can draw on and work with. But the idea of shattering someone's chakras and rebuilding them, or ripping them out completely, or replacing them with some other form of energy, to me at least, as a professional, seems a bit... It seems a lot, actually, is what it seems. It seems a lot like a bad idea. In fact, I'll never do something like that for someone. Now, I will talk about an interesting situation without naming any names. I had met someone once with a destroyed chakra. They'd went through trauma in their life, and the chakra was effectively dead. I had, 5 minutes to do something for this person before other events were going to take me away from having any chance of helping them. And I said, okay, let me try something that I'm probably the only one I know knows how to do. And they said, well, if you think it'll help, give it a shot. So what I did was I started a healing process, drawing energy back to that chakra, and knowing that it still wasn't strong enough, I created an artificial chakra that will temporarily exist and decay at the same rate as the real chakra increases back to capability. How did I do this? I'm very skilled, and I've spent a lot of time working with energy, working with these systems to gain a better idea instinctively as to how they work. I can explain some of it. Some of it has to do with opening what I call an energy gateway. This is not a gateway to a different dimension. This is a gateway to the raw flow of energy that the chakras already draw on. Some of it has to do with being able to stabilize such an energy form in this temporal space and other temporal spaces. Some of it has to do with the fact that I just have that much force of will because of the training. Regardless, the point of the story is, when this was done, like I said, I had 5, I may have even had 10 whole minutes to do this, knowing that I would not get to do anything to help them again after. They open their eyes and they go, I feel normal. And I said to them, you will, but you still need to work with your chakra meditations to continue to rebuild that chakra. This is a placeholder that will provide a degree of benefit to you for this time. And it will dissipate at the same rate that the regular chakra improves. Now, I did get to contact them, and they were doing much better at the end of a year's time because they were doing the proper meditations. They were doing the focus, and they weren't there with just an artificial chakra. Like I said, even my best work at that point would not last them indefinitely, nor would it be safe or healthy for them to rely on that as a kind of prosthetic chakra. But my point is, this is an example of something very radical and out there as a healing method that was used in an emergency situation. What makes this different than ripping someone's chakras out or blowing up their chakras? Well, the first thing is, at no point am I removing something or taking away from a natural system. I'm adding to. It is safer to add to a system than it is to strip away. The other thing involved in this is that at no point was I intending to circumvent the existing energy system completely, but instead I was providing a kind of graft, if you will, in the same way that we have mesh graft applied for muscles to reheal. So that natural healing, with them being a key part of their healing, could be applied. This is very different from blowing someone up and hoping to hell that they're going to be okay afterwards. One of these methods is fairly sound and reasonable, and given that, again, I didn't have much of an opportunity to help this person, it was kind of a chance meeting and understanding that they had the issue, and I wanted to do the best I could to help them in a way that I could. Versus long-term work with a client, for instance. My going into this is to give you some basis for why I say what I say and where my understanding of it is, not to say, hey, I know some really neat techniques. There are other people out there that know things I don't know. But in my experience, if someone wants to blow your chakras up or rip them out or explode a chakra, run. The best they can do is nothing. That's the best you can hope for, is that they fail to do anything. That they are a flim-flam artist. That they go, I am going to blow your chakras up. And you're there and you're like, all right, I'm waiting to get blown up. I'm waiting to get blown up. That's what I meant. And you get nothing out of it. The worst that can happen is that they are wildly successful. And you are destroyed on an innate level, losing your abilities to draw on the universal flow. And you will have to learn much deeper levels of concentration, focus, and understanding of the universe before you can rebuild what they did. Now, I want to caveat everything I just said. I want to take everything I just said, I want to throw it out the window to a degree. I want to rewind time and tell you that all of these energy systems are a way of understanding the infinite flow of the universe through the body. That chakras are one way of communicating that. They're not the only way of communicating that, but they are one that we use a lot, and it's a terminology that's easy to relate. If you're having energy that is related to your sexual centers in that general area of the body, I can say, hey, that's a sacral chakra issue, if you're having energy that is messed up and it has to do with your ability to root to your self of understanding and surety of the self and the self's ability to continue to exist, your base level instinct of self-survival and your ability to feel grounded in reality, I can say, hey, that's a root chakra issue. These things are easy ways for us to communicate. I do think that the more you do this, the less that you see the root chakra as just this little sphere that sits there separate from everything else. And the more you see it as this blending of understanding and energy as it flows like waves of power that mix and intertwine. But it takes experience to get to that point. And if me telling you that this is how it works, this is how I can understand it, automatically makes you convinced that you now understand it, you need to train hard and meditate longer. As my old slogan goes, I'm going back to it. You know, this is the Labyrinth. It's brought to you by Knights of Awakening. We want you to train harder. We want you to meditate longer. We want you to connect to the flow of the universe. We don't want you to blow your chakras up, though. Okay? We don't want you to blow your chakras up, and we don't want anyone to rip them out of you. Okay? If someone is promising to rip your chakras out, promise to rip theirs right back out. The same way if someone's promising to punch you in the nose, while I'm not giving you legal advice, I highly recommend you threaten to punch them in the nose in return. Okay? If someone is doing this and they're like, it's going to make you feel better if I cuff you upside the head across your ear, you look at them and say, you may believe that, but if you do that to me, I'm going to do just as bad or worse to you. Always evaluate what you're doing with if it makes sense within the construct of what you can learn about a method. Just because someone says it's new and it's amazing and it's great doesn't mean it is. More than likely, they're using buzzwords and they're using key terminology to drag you into a position where you're going to blow yourself up, or worse yet, you're going to let them do it. The best you can hope for when someone claims to do one of these things is that ultimately they fail. And it'll be the first time then you've walked into a situation where your best shot at coming out of it is if the person you're having do something for you fails. Don't let people do this. Again, I am not attempting to incite any kind of verbal battle with any other practitioner. I am sure there are things that I do that other people totally disagree with or don't believe is valid, and that's fine. But this is the Labyrinth, so you're going to get my point of view on it. I thank you all so very much, and as always, awaken the night within.